last week we released our review of the Logitech G Pro wheel, and we do very much like it as a product, but not everyone has been fully sold on this. And based on the conversation that you guys have been having in the comments and what we've seen you people searching for and just all the discourse around this brand new product, we figured it would be a bit silly not to go back and have a look at it. But not just by itself, because I'm joined by not one, but two legends. One being the Logitech G923 and the other being John Monroe. Because we've decided to have a look at both of these wheels next to each other and basically try and answer the question as to which one you should buy, because we know you're looking at that. We know that people who've looked at the G Pro and thought, it's a bit too much, what about the G923? And we have only covered the G923 kind of passively here on Traction, but we figured today we'll give it a bit more of a spotlight and give you guys an idea as to what to expect. So while John's going to talk about the G923, we'll get to him. First, let's talk about this one very quickly. So this thing is direct drive, whereas the G923 and things before that were not, but we'll get to that. So this thing is 11 Newton meters in power, and while the wheel and the general visuals look very Logitech, the wheel is actually removable, if I can do it. There we go. It's got a quick release system, which is basically saying that down the line there will be different wheels you can plug into this, but Logitech haven't said anything on it. Design-wise, it's pretty much as you'd expect. Nice clicky buttons, nice clicky thumbstick. Got two rotary dials instead of one, which you'll see on the back. Magnetic paddles and analog shifters. You don't have these on the G923, and that simply goes snippety snap, he says, onto the front of the base. Base itself, it's made of plastic with active cooling, so there's a fan in the back rather than using an aluminium heatsink, which companies like Fanatec and Moser do. Instead, Logitech went for a plastic shroud and a fan to cool it. So not everyone's convinced by that, but it is what it is.
Okay, so this, on the other hand, is the Logitech G923, a much cheaper option. It's an entry-level sim racing option, so it doesn't use direct drive. It actually uses a gear-driven system, so you've got a motor on the inside. We'll talk a little bit more in detail about that, but it does produce just over 2 Newton meters of torque, as opposed to the 11 that you get with the Logitech G Pro. Now, in terms of the actual rim itself, you've got a similar amount of buttons. Obviously, everything's a little bit cheaper feeling. You've got dials there. You've got the aluminium frame on top, or plate, I should say. You've got a leather rim as well, which actually feels pretty nice, to be honest. And you do have stainless steel shifters too, which again, feel pretty good. The overall build quality and stuff does feel slightly different to the Logitech G Pro. It feels a little bit cheaper, but again, we'll talk about that a little bit more in a wee bit of time. We also have the important thing with these. The pedals are included. So these pedals come with the wheelbase and the wheel rim. The wheel rim is not detachable though, so you can't just take it off and pop on a new one like you can with the Logitech G Pro. So very much entry level, very different to the high end that they're looking at with the Pro.
Down here, we have got the new G Pro pedals. Now, unlike the G923, they don't come in the box with the Pro base. It's just the base and the wheel together and the pedals separately. But these guys, there's only 2 of them here, but there are 3 pedals. That was a question that did get asked in the review of this. Does it come with 3 pedals? Yes, it does, but I took one out for the sake of showing the pedal by itself and also the fact that to prove they are removable, because not everyone needs a clutch. I don't use the clutch in sim racing, I do it in my real car. But these are much better, much more well-designed and well-made metal plates, metal construction. The back and the front is still plastic, but way more easily adjustable. Comes with a bunch of different springs and elastomers for the load cell brake. It's a load cell. They aren't. But they are generally just a much more robust, a much more premium, as you'd expect for the Pro Tag product.
These, on the other hand, they're just pedals. They've been pretty much the same ever since Logitech launched their G29, probably before that, the G27. They're very, very similar. There's no load cell, nothing fancy, just potentiometers. You do have a bit of resistance in the brake pedal. It's actually quite good for what you get. The only issue I've had is with the potentiometers, they do sometimes get a bit dirty. You need to rip them apart, clean them, use some contact cleaner. It can take a bit of time, and that's not great. So the pedals are going to be a worthy upgrade for you. But at the end of the day, if you're just a casual racing game fan, these will be more than enough for you.
But how much will you be paying for the G Pro? So the wheel and base come together, and that is £999.
Wait, 999? I thought it was 849.
No, Logitech have put the price up twice since they first got revealed, and we did reach out to them and ask why, and they didn't say. As for the pedals, these come separately as well. These are $349.99. What about you?
Well, with these, obviously, you get it all as a bundle. So you get the pedals and the wheelbase and of course the wheel rim all included in one. And this is going to set you back £379.99, which is a fair amount.
$379.
$379, yeah.
They were $349 before.
So Logitech have upped the price then?
of everything.
Cool. Oh well, $379.99 it is for now. However, you don't always need to pay that, because with this pedal set and wheel set, you don't always have to go through Logitech themselves. You can actually go and buy this in a store, you can buy it online across various retailers, and you will almost always find a heavily discounted version. So the likelihood is you'll pick up this whole lot for around about 300 quid.
That's a good point actually, because this you can only buy from Logitech directly. These aren't going to brick and mortar stores, and from what we know, they're not going to resellers like Amazon or Scan or Overclockers or Box or anything like that. Much like a lot of wheels on the market from Logitech and from existing companies, there are different flavors of wheel you can buy. So this one, for example, as you can probably see, has got PlayStation buttons on it because this is the PlayStation version of the G Pro. And this will work on your PS4, your PS5, and also your PC. However, you can buy an Xbox flavor as well that will work with your Xbox Series X, Series S, Xbox One, and maybe even your 360 for all I know. But that will also work with PC, but you can't buy a version that will work with both Xbox, PlayStation, and PC. Based on how the chip and how it actually speaks to the console is different for both platforms. Apparently it's like a chip in the wheel speaks to Xbox and a chip in the base speaks to PlayStation. There are ways around it with other brands, but for this one, as far as we know, you either buy for PlayStation or buy for Xbox. Either way, you're happy on PC.
As for the G923, well, it's pretty much the same story. So you can buy a PlayStation version, which also works on PC. You can buy an Xbox version, which also works on PC. However, you cannot use the PlayStation version on Xbox, and you can't use the Xbox version on PlayStation. So fairly straightforward compatibility, but yeah, not 100% perfect.
Now, I'm sure that people might be asking, because the wheels are removable and it's the wheel specifically that says PlayStation or Xbox, could you take the Xbox wheel from another bundle and put it onto this base and have it work with an Xbox? Simple answer, we don't know. We got sent a PlayStation version of this wheel, we didn't get sent one of each, so we couldn't do the old choppy and changing and see what would work. As said, from what I know, PlayStation compatibility comes from the base, Xbox from the wheel, so whether this one is specifically PlayStation, we don't exactly know, so don't assume that's the case going forwards. But something that is quite interesting, especially for you PC users, these pedals are connected to this base via USB Type A. Rather than like a network looking connector, you go USB Type A in. It makes it really, really simple to replace if you lose the cable, but it also means you can plug these Pro pedals directly into a PC and just have G-Hub see them as pedals. It's really, really useful, especially if you already have an existing wheelbase you don't want to replace and just want to buy some new pedals. And that also works with the G923. If you have the G923 plugged into your PC via USB and then the pedals plugged in via USB as well, you can use those both together and basically upgrade the pre-existing Logitech pedals with the G923. We'll actually show you that a bit later. More comments have asked about accessories, things that you get with these wheels. So the G Pro comes with more springs or more elastomers, at least for the pedals anyway, and the base itself comes with a desk mount if you so wish. Otherwise you can just mount it to something, whatever you fancy. But does it come with a handbrake? Does it come with a shifter? And since we didn't show them in the video, no. It doesn't come with a handbrake or a shifter, but there is the driving force shifter that Logitech already offer. It's a pretty cheap and actually pretty flimsy little product. I've got one, it's fine, and at the moment it works with the G923 because it has a connector underneath to plug it in, no problem. Because they've changed things up with the Pro, with it all being USB Type A, that H pattern shifter will not work with it. If you bought a third-party one as a USB and plugged that into the back of the G Pro, will it work? No. I'm pretty certain Logitech told us that wouldn't work. You'd have to plug it into your PC natively for that to work. But could you use the H pattern shifter in the future with the G Pro? Yes, you can. Because next year Logitech are releasing some adapters to make the H pattern shifter, the driving force shifter as they call it, work with the G Pro, and also for the pedals to work natively with the G923. Because if you wanted, as said, to do those pedals with the older wheel, do it in PC, two separate inputs, no problem. Consoles can't do that. They need one singular input, so two USB ports, it's not going to work in the same way. But an adapter releasing next year will. So if you've got this and you want to upgrade your pedals, you'll be absolutely quids in next year.
Okay, so it's time we talked about the force feedback itself, because that will be one of the most important things to a lot of you. So how does it work on the G923? The G923 uses a classic gear-driven system, not direct drive, so you do not get the force feedback directly through the steering shaft. you actually get it through a combination of motors and gears, which gives you a certain amount of resistance and will give you, as I said earlier, around about 2.2 Newton meters of torque. Now, this is a very cheap option. It doesn't cost that much to build, and it doesn't cost that much, obviously, to buy, which is obviously a great thing, but it's not going to give you that instant, precise force feedback that some of the more expensive options, such as the G Pro, will give you.
As for expensive options, direct drive is pretty much what it says on the tin. Rather than having the feedback that's delivered to the steering column, to the wheel, to your hands being offset and delivered via gears, like in the G923, or belts in some other manufacturers' ways of doing things, direct drive is done directly on the steering column, which means that you can put way more power down it because you're not relying on belts or gears that could get knackered by much, much bigger forces. As said, 2 point something Newton meters, 11 Newton meters, but it also means that the feedback is a lot more crisp and it's a lot more immediate as well. Direct drive technology is nothing new, but this is Logitech's first foray into doing so, and if you watch our review, click or tap up there, link in the description, we were pretty happy with it, but this was Logitech's first bash. However,
they've been doing these gear-driven wheels for a long time. We had the G29 just before and the G920. Before that, we had the G27 and then the G25. So for this product, it's been around a while. Logitech have had a long time to master it. This is very, very similar to the G29 that came before it with added true force. So essentially, Logitech is tried and tested. They know what they're doing, and the other product is a bit more of a shot in the dark.
So a couple of things before we get started doing some live testing on Gran Turismo and ACC on PC. You might have seen, obviously, we've mounted these two wheels to two different wheel stands. I'm currently sat in front of the G923. This has been mounted on the Track Racer FS3. There's a video on the channel, link in the description, or click and tap up there to see that. Or over here, if you pull back a bit, look, we have the G Pro, and this is the Next Level Racing Wheel Stand 2.0. There's no video review of this, but there is a written review link in the video description, but you have probably seen this a lot. And speaking of mounting, somebody asked whether the mounting on this is the same as the mounting on this, and pretty much, yes, it is. The back of the base has 2 screws on the G923. This actually has 3 screw threads, but it's 2 at the back like it is here, and then 1 in the middle at the front, which is interesting because from what we've mounted this on so far, that middle hole hasn't actually lined up with anything yet. But either way, these mount pretty comfortably. As you can see on the back of the G Pro, all of the I/O, everything you plug in is very easily accessible at the back of the base, which is a fantastic inclusion. However, on the G923, and having mounted this on various rigs and wheel stands and all sorts over the years, all of the connectors are underneath the base. It has got like a big cable routing wraparoundy thing, which is really nice for nice and tidy cable management, which I enjoy, but having to get something or unplug something, you have to actually unmount the whole thing. So thank goodness Logitech changed that for the G Pro. Finally, one more thing. You might have seen that I got very excited in reviewing the Logitech G Pro. I like my Logitech products, as I said in the video, and maybe there were a few things where I was thinking, not so much thinking straight, but looking at Logitech as its own little thing, but contextually in the market, there's reasons the G Pro is a bit of a strange choice from Logitech's perspective in terms of power and etc, etc. We'll get to that in our conclusion. But I would really like to just talk about the elephant in the room that comes up in YouTube comments all the time, because YouTube comments are always really, really nice and friendly all the time. And that is that we're biased. We were paid to say nice things about this product because apparently saying something nice about something on YouTube means you've been paid to do it. Now, I've worked in YouTube for 5.5, nearly 6 years, reviewing games, reviewing hardware, doing a bunch of stuff in the past. And at no point ever have I been offered money to say nice things about a product. It's weird how some people just completely skirt around this truth. But genuinely, at no point have I been given money or been told to say this, that, or the other about a product. And as much as I'm speaking on behalf of Traction.gg here, I don't think we'd ever do that. A link in the description to our review policy as to how we do review things, and we were sent the G Pro by Logitech for review, but they didn't tell us what to say. And I hope you keep that in mind. The same thing goes for our Fanatec reviews, for our Moser reviews, for our Thrustmaster reviews, for the stuff we get from Next Level Racing, the stuff we get from Track Race, the stuff we have from Simplexity. Everything we've done and we've been sent to be reviewed, we get sent it. And that's basically almost the payment side of it. We get sent the product, we don't have to pay for it. But at no point do we get paid or be deliberately biased to say nice things about a product. If we say nice things here at Traction.gg, we mean it. We genuinely do. So I do hope you keep that in mind, and let's play Gran Turismo.
So it's about time we actually gave these two a shot, and we've actually managed to plug both wheels in separately to the PlayStation 5, and it works. It sees them as two separate controllers. So we can have a split screen race sitting next to each other in the rig, which is very cool. Now we're going to do it on Gran Turismo 7. Unfortunately, the second player in split screen is stuck with all their assists and racing line on. It's a problem that's known to Gran Turismo 7. It doesn't happen on GT Sport, but sadly the force feedback is affected. So we're just going to jump in and try it, and then we're going to swap over, have a try of the other product, and kind of see what we think.
Right, swapsies. Controls are yours, sir.
Right, this is instantly bigger.
I mean, it's barely a race.
Not really, yeah.
Which is mainly the downside of Gran Turismo 7, as John said, not having the ability to turn off assists on player 2. But hopefully they'll fix that. Polyphony, please. We want to do split screen races we are in equal machinery, but as much as you are a faster driver than I am, I was 15 seconds behind you.
But none of that is on the wheel, obviously, as you say.
No.
It's really on the game. The actual force feedback and stuff. It was funny, when I jumped on that, I didn't think, as I was giving it a shot, like, oh, this feels cheap, or this doesn't feel premium. It just felt absolutely fine. It felt nice. I am kind of used to it as well, though.
Yeah.
But then jumping on this, you do notice that little bit of difference. Everything's just a bit nicer, a bit bigger. The pedals give you a little bit more control. So aside from the assists and all that problem, yeah, you do notice a slight difference when you directly jump from one to the other.
Absolutely, but this is a very unrealistic sort of testing scenario. You wouldn't be jumping from this to that like we are in reality unless you go to a shop that has both of them out on the show floor or something like that. So as John said, like as much as I went the other way around, I went from that to this. While it does feel like there's like nothing there very much is, and it's more than usable if you're sat playing Gran Turismo like this. This thing feels absolutely adequate. It doesn't feel incredible compared to like something direct drive, but if it's literally the only thing you're using, you will be more than happy with it. It's a more than usable thing. Same with the pedals as well. They don't feel as good as a load cell, but they are happily passable. It's the reason why I have this. I played so much Gran Turismo with this wheel and played ACC and all sorts of things on PC as well. And it is perfectly acceptable, but obviously the much more expensive, much more modern, much more refined force feedback of that feels a ton better. That is obvious, but it's not as if you're going to have a bad time using this. Even after jumping from that to this thing still feels good.
So we also did have a few comments talking about the compatibility between pedals and wheel from the separate packages. Now Rich did mention earlier about the adapters, but if you're a PC user, you can actually use the wheel from the Logitech G923 with the Pro pedals as it stands now, because you can put them in as two separate inputs. And we are going to show you that in action right now.
So you can see both the G923 and the G Pro in G Hub, and the G923 is picking up the steering wheel. It's also picking up my pedals, but if you look at the G Pro, it's picking up John's pedals as well. So we can then map those in Assetto Corsa Competizione to be your steering off this wheel and then the pedals off John. So just for the sake of like testing this, we are gonna have almost a little bit of a challenge where I'm gonna be steering, John's gonna be doing the pedals. We're gonna take the McLaren 720S, that is the Logitech G challenge car, funnily enough, around Brands, and see how well we do without much communication, I guess. Should we see?
Other than go faster and turn. Right, so you've got gears as well, right?
I have gears as well.
I'm gonna brake just the one board. There we go. Oh, I take full responsibility for that.
I was gonna say, that wasn't me.
Go, 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 straight out.
But as you can see, I'm steering, John is pedaling, like the Chuckle Brothers car, and it works. So if you had a G923 and you bought these pedals by themselves, and provided you're playing on PC, you could use this setup right now.
And it's actually quite a fun thing just to
It's
do.
quite cool, isn't it?
Oh, you know what, I'm going to blame that. It's fine. That's fine.
Bit too early.
I blame the 650.
You get the idea, it works.
Come on, fast last corner, let's go. Oh no.
Oh no, he's missed it.
That's fully on me.
So conclusion time. You're looking to buy a sim wheel. Which one do you go for? Now, you can't take what we're gonna say today as gospel because everyone has a different story to tell. Everyone has a different reason for buying a wheel. Are you buying fresh? Are you upgrading? How much money do you have? What platforms are you on? Etc, etc, etc. So, a lot of people in the comments, just to get an elephant out of the room straight away, a lot of people in the comments were saying, why would you spend £1,100, £1,400 on this whole setup overall when you could buy a CSL DD, you could buy a DD Pro from Fanatec, you could buy the Moser R5 that just got released. Why not go for one of those? Well, that depends on your platform. If you're buying Moser, you're on PC. If you've got a PlayStation, you're a bit stuffed. But if you were looking at something like this, if you're in the market for a direct drive wheel specifically, you've got the money to splash on something like this, or you're maybe upgrading from something like a G923 or something even older than that, because there are people still using almost ancient wheels to this day, and you're willing to put the cash down, you want to stay in the Logitech ecosystem, like I said in the review, it really isn't a bad shout. But in the context of the market as a whole, with like the likes of Fanatec and Moser doing mid-tier, mid-power versions of this, I can understand why not everyone was solely convinced. I mean, one of the things that we said when we were using this and discussing it prior to the review that we recorded, we were saying we would rather have that be about half the power, which is what the market for more affordable direct drives is.
Yeah, I mean, it's like Logitech have kind of bookmarked the market, really. They've got your kind of premium product, which is great for those who really want to take things very seriously and have the money to spend, as Rich was saying. You've got an amazing entry-level product, but yeah, the middle ground is what's popular right now, you have to say.
Yeah.
And it does feel like Logitech are going to miss some of that middle ground to the likes of Fanatec and Moser. So it'd be great if they could come up with something that just kind of filled that gap as well.
It was a 50-50 gamble. It was either go for the middle ground and annoy the people who want much more top end, or go for the top end and annoy the people who wanted the middle ground. In hindsight, a wonderful thing. Maybe Logitech should have gone with the weaker one first and then put this one in later.
Yeah.
That would be more catered for what we would do. But if you were wanting a G923, that is more your entry-level thing. If you don't have a wheel, I don't want to say don't buy this because it's really good, but if you're not wanting to drop 1,400 quid, that's 380, if not always on sale, as we said. But why would you go for this and pay over £1,000 more? Yeah,
you don't need anything more than this. You know, even if you're taking things really seriously, you can still be competitive in esports events and the likes with a G923. I mean, I've used a G27, G29 for years, and it's been okay. I would like something a little bit better, but this wheel is perfectly good. So honestly, if you're just in the market for your first wheel, you don't need that. You really don't. This is fantastic.
So while it's not going to be the most sort of robust conclusion of you should take this one over this one, as said, everyone is in a different position when it comes to buying a wheel. But as we've mentioned, as we've shown you, the beauty is these will work together, either right now on PC specifically, but next year on a console when they release the correct adapters to make them speak to each other properly. So we both already own wheels. In fact, you own a G29 and I own a G923 specifically. But if, say, we weren't wheel owners, which one would you go for? Or what loadout would you choose?
It's very tricky because ideally I think I would put myself in that middle ground where I'd want something that's affordable, but actually, and that's the one thing Logitech don't have yet. So that makes it tricky. But I have to say I'm going with this until I have more time to take things more seriously in sim racing, and then I would consider something like that. But no, it has to be this to start with. I'm
a little bit biased because I literally own that exact model of wheel, but for how much I use a wheel at home, it would be that. If I had spent £1,000 extra on this and it had it sitting in a cupboard most of the time, I'd probably regret doing that. So hopefully we might have answered some more of your questions about the differences between the G Pro and the G923 and maybe given you more of an idea if you are umming and ahhing as to which one to go for But if you do have more questions regarding the G Pro, regarding the G923, because John and I both use Logitech a lot, let us know in the comment section below and we'll be in there trying to respond to as many questions as we can. Of course, there are links in the description below for the review of the G Pro, also for the Next Level Racing Wheel Stand 2.0 and the Track Racer FS3 if you're liking the look of these wheel stands, which we both very much enjoy. But thank you very much for watching. Hopefully we've helped you out in this whole debacle of Logitech stuff. Keep it pinned. We'll see you next time.